Hi there, I'm James Cullen, a local San Francisco realtor, and this is the beginning of my buyer series. A good portion of it is going to be from this book, Your First Home, and keep tuning in for the videos as they're coming out. But if you don't want to wait for the next one, feel free. I've included the link down below so you could go ahead and purchase a copy of the book.
Let's move it along now.
Buying your first home is a very exciting time, but there are 10 major steps to take along that path. So I want you to be familiar with the process so you are knowledgeable and comfortable when that time comes to actually buy your home. The first step is actually deciding to buy. You may have been interested in real estate. You may have viewed properties before. Heck, you're probably watching this in real estate now, whether you rent or own. There's gonna be tips along the way that you can learn from, and I hope you enjoy. And if you do enjoy and you like what you see, go ahead, of course, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell so you see when the next video comes out. As buyers, there's gonna be different fears that you may experience. So I'm gonna share with you the fears and then the facts or what actually ends up happening. So let's start with the first one. The first one is that you have the fear you can't afford it. And the fact is, really, until you do the math, you don't really know what you can or can't afford. And when you're doing that mental math, I want you to consider a few things like insurance. I want you to consider the down payment up front, the monthly mortgage, of course, but also consider things like inspections. Depending on where you're living and where you're at, you may want to do inspections. So you're gonna wanna budget for that along the way and for the process. And if you're not putting as much as a down payment, you may have PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. The second fear is that you want to wait for the real estate market to get better. But the truth of the matter is there's never a wrong time to buy the right house. And what is more important, getting the right price or buying the right house? Long term, if you just aim for price, well, price isn't always value. So it may be the deal of a century, but if it just doesn't fit what you want long term, or even in the immediate short term, well, now you've put yourself in a pickle. Don't put yourself in a pickle. Economically speaking too, there's always gonna be the ups and downs. And if you look back, of course, it happened. Even during the Great Recession, that lasted about 2 years of a downturn and then 10 years of a massive growth phase. Again, long-term, the appreciation, you want to ride that. And there's 2 ways to make money in real estate, time and timing. Always hold for the long time. The third fear is that you don't have money for a down payment. And the fact of the matter is, there's actually a lot of programs, government-backed and otherwise. Local jurisdictions have their own too. Like in San Francisco, we have the mayor's program, which is a down payment assistance program. I'll go ahead and include the link down below if you're interested. On the government side, you can have as low as 5% down and still get into a home. That will usually include things like private mortgage insurance. However, getting the home is the most important thing. 4, you have bad credit or no credit. The truth is, good lenders will have options for you. And it may mean more of a interest rate in the short term, but they can also put you in touch with credit repair teams so you can resolve your credit issues. 5th is you can't buy your dream home, so you're not gonna buy at all. Truth of the matter is most people are gonna compromise a little bit just to get into the market. But by buying your first house, at least you're in the market and you can raise with it and slowly build up your equity so that when the time does come, you can go ahead and buy that dream home or rent out this house, move into that dream home. Another solution for this, if you want that dream home to come sooner, if you make 1 additional payment a year on your mortgage, that actually shortens your 30-year term down to about 17 years, making it much more manageable and much sooner for you to have your dream home. Now the 6th is you are waiting to be married or to have kids. And the truth of the matter is you don't need to be married and you don't need to wait to have kids to buy your first house. This kind of comes twofold. One is people are waiting for dual income, so then there's more options they can pick from. But 27% of people are actually single first-time home buyers, which is fantastic. And the ladies lead with that. The men are a little slower to buy our own place. We do tend to wait to have that wife or even the kids before we buy a home. There's also the concern that your future partner may not like the house you chose to buy for yourself. If that is the case, then that's great news, because now you have options. When you were renting and that happens, you only have one option. You need to leave your place. But if you bought something for yourself, and as you're getting married or having kids, now you're gonna do things together. Now you have the option to rent that out. You've got the option to sell it, and you could still move in with your future partner. But you have that, and you've built some equity in that house, so it's easier to move forward. Number 7, you still have student debt, because all of our parents told us to go to college, and we took on a bunch of debt, and we're still paying it off. The truth of the matter is, a lot of banks will still work with you. It may just impact your debt to income ratio, but I wouldn't let that hold you back from getting into the market and creating your future through real estate, because most people's wealth is in their houses and it appreciates while they're using it. Now, for many people, you may want to know everything before you really get started, but it's interesting. Once you tell somebody you're going to buy a house, everybody becomes an expert in real estate. You're gonna hear from your brother in Michigan on why you shouldn't buy on the lake. You're gonna hear from your sister down in Vegas or Phoenix who's gonna say, oh, 2-level homes, stay away from them. They're terrible with AC. And all I can tell you is there's 3 things you really need to know. The buying process, you wanna know the local market, and the third is your personal criteria. Now with the first 2, a great agent or advisor will be able to help you with understanding the local market and the buying process locally. But that last one, your criteria, that's absolutely up to you. You need to know what you're actually looking for and what needs it's serving. That's the best way that a real estate agent can help you with the rest of the process. But together, you will know the whole process. There are 4 fundamental principles that I want you to be aware of while you're going through this process. That first one is that real estate rules and regulations are hyper local. Even from San Francisco, we have our own contracts that we work with, and there's different rules and jurisdictions just outside of the city. If you go to Oakland or Berkeley, and even though they may share borders or anything like that, it's hyper local and very specific. So find a good advisor that you trust, and if you need help looking for one, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to introduce you. The second principle is that the best deals are a win-win situation. Oftentimes, you as the buyer, you have the goal of getting a house, and the seller has the goal of selling the house. But you've both set caps in some way, and sometimes we get so close that you just need to negotiate a little bit either way. So come prepared, ask for everything as the buyer, and it's okay to get knocked down, okay? But be prepared to understand what you're willing to walk away from or what you're willing to give to stay in the deal. But that's how you find a true win-win, and trust your real estate advisor through that process. The third principle is that price and value are not the same. Oftentimes, the most expensive property doesn't mean it's the best, and same with the cheapest. That doesn't mean that it's the best of value. If it doesn't serve your needs, then that's a bad buy either way. But there are 3 things I want you to consider with this one: price, condition, and location. Because the problems you're buying today are the problems you're selling in the future. And if you needed to sell in a downturn, places that are priced well, in a great location and in fantastic condition will always sell better than places that are in worse condition, worse location, and are overpriced for what's actually selling in the market. Keep that in mind. Fourth principle is you want to choose with your heart and your head. Now, let your heart start the search for you. Let it get going, fall in love with some places, but again, use your head. Consider that price, condition, and location. Those will be the long-term differences. At the end of the day, if you need to sell a property down the line, you want to be happy that it held you and you enjoyed it for the time it was, but you're happy to pass it on to somebody else. You're not feeling like you're giving them a burden. So lead with your heart, but also your head. Don't let your head out of the deal. It's a very exciting adventure that you're leading on right now, and I want you to be knowledgeable and feel comfortable and confident moving forward. And the next step is finding that advisor or real estate agent who's really going to help you along that process. If you're in San Francisco, of course, don't hesitate to reach out. Feel free to leave me a comment or find me on Instagram. And if you're anywhere else, I'm happy to help you there too. Thanks for tuning in to the start of this series. Now that you've made the decision to buy and you're ready to commit moving forward, click on that next video. We're going to talk about what you're looking for in a real estate agent.